we're banging on some tech doors lately on the old Equity.Guru investor roundtable, and today would be no exception. We are talking about Wellfield Tech. It's decentralized finance. The Wellfield lads and lassies, they're in Markham, Ontario. They're also in Israel. Levy Cohen is the CEO, and it is WFLD on the Venture Exchange, which is very similar to the call letters of a radio station in Florida, WFLD.
I like to remember it using the mnemonic waffled.
The mnemonic waffled?
Yeah, WFLD. I think of it as waffled, and I remember the ticker symbol.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's good, because you're going to talk about it first, because you wrote the article on this website.
Wellfield Technologies, one of our client companies. Anyone who's ever listened to me drunk at the end of the bar knows my feelings on crypto are somewhere around my feelings for 2-week-old cat shit that somehow got out of the litter box and ends up under my feet in the kitchen-based office. Look, here's the thing with crypto is it's going to replace fiat currency. Who's buying a pizza with crypto right now? Anybody?
No, but I bet you the guy that bought it for 18,000 coins is kicking himself in the ass.
Yeah. Look, here's the deal: is it doesn't really work as a currency, right? Because there's too many bottlenecks. There's too much shit that needs to be done to process just one trade on Bitcoin. One purchase takes about half an hour of time. It just doesn't work. The amount of energy that is currently spent maintaining crypto Bitcoin is the equivalent of the electrical energy output of Argentina.
Right. Yeah.
That's nuts. If someone said, hey, we've got a new banking software, but it's going to take the electrical output of Argentina to run it, you'd say, I think I have a problem with your business model. So here we are in this landscape where the only thing that really works for crypto is a store of value as long as somebody else has more value attached to it. Right?
The greater fool theory.
So we just had the first ever tweet sent by Jack Dorsey on Twitter was NFT'd some time ago for like $2 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just put it on sale a year later for $48 million, and it sold for $280. The NFT market is in tatters.
$280.
NFTs aren't worth anything as long as there's somebody out there who wants your Bored Ape more than you, then it's worth something. But the moment you can't turn sideways without finding another mildly annoyed sock puppet monkey NFT that's going to suck away the money that was previously on the last one. Like right now, you and I, we could get together, take some screenshots of each other, make them NFTs, and claim them.
Already done it, guys. I'm making millions.
Investor Roundtable NFTs.
Of pesos.
Nothing surprises me.
So generally speaking, I hate crypto. I hate crypto, and I hate crypto. That said, decentralized finance has a thing. It is a thing. And you know why I know that? Because my fucking credit card went out of date as of yesterday. And all day today, all I'm getting are notes saying that I need to go and find my new credit card to make sure I can still watch fucking Netflix. The existing financial system online is bupkis. It's so fucking stupid the way everything runs, the way the banks run, how long it takes me to cash a US dollar check. If I'm standing at my branch with all of my ID and it's a check that I get every month, I still have to wait 21 business days for it to be mailed to another country and back. So decentralized finance, I can get down with it, right? Like it's going to be a thing. The problem is it just doesn't work yet. So Wellfield, our friends at Wellfield Technologies, who admittedly, we're getting all the conflicts out there, are a sponsor of our site. Wellfield have purchased 2 technologies. One is called Seamless, which is, they describe it as an ecosystem of protocols that removes the need for decentralized finance intermediaries. What does that mean? It means that if I decide I want to pay for something in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever the fuck, then instead of having to go to Coinbase and make a deposit from my bank to Coinbase, and then for Coinbase to have to process, and for it to go out to the blockchain, and someone else on some other end has got to use something else to receive the money, and then they're going to change it to dollars so they got to get some other third party. And take away all of that stuff. Seamless basically allows you to just say, thank you, Vishal, for your Ethereum. I will take that, and I own that now. Here is your change. And everyone can go, cool. That's seamless. And literally what it is that they're putting together. So it is a software that's been developed. It does exist in the world. It has users. The other thing that they're also down with is something called Money Clip, which that explanation that I just gave you that was very complex and weird and probably more than most people really wanted. Money Clip is the user interface for that to basically say, I want to change my dollars to Ethereum. Click. I want to change my Ethereum back to dollars. Click. Instead of having to go through a maze of other systems, networks, and platforms. Seems like it should be a really simple thing that everybody has, and yet. So these two work well together. It allows Wellfield to be involved in the decentralized finance business without having to be stupid and Coinbasey and Quadrigery and all those other places that are, one dead person away from going under. More recently, though, Wellfield has gone out and acquired a company called CoinMama, which you can go to coinmama.com. Is basically a front door for people who want to buy cryptocurrency, exchange it back and forth for fiat. It's the third part of three that I think Wellfield really needs to be a player. Imagine being able to be Coinbase, but without having just a giant, stonking great, slow, overhead covered, messy, poorly written, bottleneck rich, having to stop trading at various times when there's no money to cover things version of Coinbase. The promise of cryptocurrency is that we just make things real simple. Hey, I want to send some money to you in Ecuador. Here's your wallet address. Here's my money. Thank you very much. The reality is it is an absolute mess of competing interests, none of which works without everyone else playing in the same direction. And any business model that realistically seeks to take all of those bottlenecks out and make the system seamless is something that conceivably can be worth a shit ton of money if they're just taking a tiny little bit of everyone's trades. So Wellfield, for me, we've been talking about it for a while. Chart-wise, it's up and down the same way that crypto in general is. But if you take away the volatility and you look at it as something that has a genuine use case, but can bring a genuine use case to the entirety of cryptocurrency, then I think that's something that's really interesting at this price.
That's Chris Berry, ladies and germs, the equity guru himself. We're going to listen to the man in the basement, Galen, who I didn't introduce earlier.
That's fine.
What are you making? What are you making today?
I'm making biscuits.
That's Michelle above me, by the way.
Is that what the kids call them these days?
Anybody.
So I'm going to attempt to do my little bit without as many F-bombs.
Yeah, he broke his own F-bomb code.
Yeah.
Threw his F-bomb code out the window today.
So anyway, I'm
kids
gonna,
love it. The kids love it.
It happens sometimes.
I'm going to try and bring up the rating of the show. All right. Now, as far as this is concerned, I agree with Chris in terms of cryptocurrency. I think it's a solution in search of a problem. The banking system is indeed broken, but the problem is it's the only thing that we have. And the reason why all of these stopgaps or stops are in place are as a security measure to ensure that this check that you're bringing to the bank, even though you've been bringing it to them for the last 10 years, is legit. And at this point, that's the only way you can deal with that and find out if it is indeed legit. So I think it sucks, but there's not much in a way that we can actually replace that with. Now, decentralized finance does offer a solution to that particular problem in that it's supposed to bring a trust atmosphere without having to use a third party to be the go-between. So I don't have to take my money to the bank, write you a check, here you go, and then you take it to your bank and then go, thanks very much. Basically, decentralized finance through the blockchain, which is the actual technology, not cryptocurrency, even though that was something that was sold to us as the end result. The blockchain allows the certifiability, the verification, the trust, as it were. So doing that, I can actually go directly to you and offer you money and say that, for me, the idea of decentralized finance was to bring the idea of loaning money on a personal level. So I could actually loan you something for a VIG, for an interest rate, and we could have a contract set out, and it would execute itself, and we would be able to do a transaction that I would only ever be able to do through a lending institution of some sort, whether that be a bank or a private institution that has that ability to do so. So it was supposed to be the democratization of money transfers, I guess you could say. The only way they could actually carry it out, however, because digital finance requires a digital medium to actually send the money back and forth. So we're stepping back into the world of cryptocurrency because that's the only model that we can use to transfer this stuff back and forth. The banks, the central banks, could create a digital currency. They've talked about doing it and could do it. And so that would actually go into it. For me, the biggest problem with decentralized finance is the lack of regulation, the lack of a cohesive environment, because right now, one of Wellfield's offerings is the ability to offer a universality in trading. So if I could give you Ethereum, you can get Bitcoin out the backside or cash without having to go through an exchange where we all both have to go through exchange rates and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what the gas fees are on this. So I'm not going to say that it's completely seamless. It might be, but there might be some fees involved for you to actually transfer stuff back and forth. But this is something that's never been possible before because blockchains don't work well together. In fact, they don't work at all together. They're programmed entirely differently, so they will not even communicate with each other. So this is the reason why this actually shows some potential. The environment, the legal environment, and the technological environment is not ready yet for the grand adoption or the mass adoption of decentralized finance. It is at this point still a dream, still the flying car of the 1950s, still the automatic kitchen of the 1950s, what we would hope to have happen. But we need things to get better, i.e. the closing of a block in a microsecond. See, there we go. A little music background for you all. So what we need is the ability to actually have the block close a lot quicker than 1/2 hour. Now, there are protocols that are faster than Bitcoin, but none of them as fast as Visa closing a transaction at the rate of 200,000 per second. So we need to be able to have that kind of verification happening in a very short period of time. The only thing that's come close to offering that kind of service is what they call hash graph. And what that is it requires something called a ghost protocol or whisper protocol, I believe. One of the two. Geez, I can't remember which. But basically what happens is that everything is agreed upon almost instantaneously because every device has the same record. So by virtue of that existence, the agreement can take place without any kind of computation happening, meaning that all of these things can happen on nodes such as your personal phone. You don't actually have to have miles and miles of graphic cards taking up 12 billion megawatts of energy to close the deal. This is something that can happen quickly and seamlessly. However, there are a lot of challenges to that. Can you verify that your phone is going to be secure, that somebody's not going to mess with it, and that somehow they're not going to send out a virus that's going to compromise a whole swath of phones and set off the network to create its own blockchain and say, well, you're going to send me $1 million, thank you very much, and then walk away, right? So we're probably a good 10 or 20 years away from an environment that can actually make this happen on a grand scale. The unfortunate part is that our markets are well accustomed to meme investment, where promises are the day, and people throw their money in because either it's fashionable or they're going to make a 1,200% markup in the next month. If you're looking long-term, DeFi is something that is probably going to come, but it needs a hell of a lot more regulation, a great increase in what the technology is, and also an acceptance by the public. This is also going to require a cultural change as well. Same
But you
thing.
know what's great?
Yeah.
What's great is that Wellfield is their business model is to bring that stuff about. Like, they're pointed in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely.
It was what's always funny about me about the rise of Uber is taxis watched it happening in real time and never once thought, you know what we need is an app.
Oh no, and they are indeed playing catch up. But this also doesn't mean that Uber in and of itself is the actual solution, because there's a lot of drawbacks
that's my point,
and cons to what Uber has become.
The existing industry sat there and watched it happening.
Yep.
Watched it. Oh, they've got an app that people can watch the taxi turning up and then rate it afterwards.
Yep.
Gee, I wonder how many minutes it would take us to do the exact same effing thing and never have to worry about Uber.
Yep.
So here we are in crypto. We're in the same situation. They designed this entire decentralized landscape, but no one thought to put the rails in place so that it could be secure, quick. They were so, to paraphrase Jeff Goldblum, they were so excited that they could do it. They never thought if they had the electricity to do so.
Yeah, no, it's true. And, to its credit, Wellfield has established some solid technologies that are addressing some real present concerns in the adoption and the mass adoption of decentralized finance. For me, the idea is, if it ever gets done, is the idea that I can lend somebody some money if I want to and become my own little micro-lending institution. Because I think that in and of itself does democratize the system. It does allow us, because at this point, we're nothing but a number to the banks. I could walk in there today and say I'd like to have a $10,000 loan, and if they don't haul me out with security, they're going to laugh me out the door, right? And based purely on numbers, where it used to be that you sat down with a loan manager and you actually had a conversation, and they, based on personal perception and who they thought you were as a human being.
And what race you are.
Well, that played into it very definitely. I can't say that there aren't foibles to that particular approach, but I liked the personal approach much better because it allowed them to make a decision about you, not necessarily your bell curve. So there we go.
All right. And you mentioned a hash graph too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a particular type of blockchain.
Right.
I got a hash graph in my drawer.
I was going to say it's something you use in your kitchen when you're making those brownies.
Ah, yes.
All right, Michelle, it sounds like volatility is the key word to this thing, and it might stay that way for a long time. What do we got right now?
Yeah, great points brought up, by Galen and Chris here. Galen mentioned that DeFi, very early stages, right? The whole idea of regulations and that kind of stuff, because essentially, decentralized finance is it's citizen banking, right? That's what a lot of people approach it as. In terms of regulations, the funny thing is a lot of people are actually liking DeFi because of the lack of regulation, because people are sort of worried that, the government's going to regulate, the normal cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the big money in cryptos, and this was maybe last year sometime, a lot of that money's actually been running into the DeFi space because they're that's, cryptos was supposed to be this asset or digital asset where big government's not involved, big corporations aren't involved, big banks and big institutions aren't involved. But now, as you guys can see, they're all sort of getting involved with Bitcoin and Ethereum and that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens,
Why not just be a gatekeeper and an overseer of one-on-one transactions privately with traditional money?
See, that's the argument, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's to a certain extent a solution looking for a problem, but there is.
This gets back to the Uber thing, right? What's stopping the banks from fixing their system so it's actually seamless and instant and not a series of SWIFT organizations around the world that have to approve my transfer?
Yeah.
I once had an employee in Thailand, and sending money to him to get paid was, honest to God, impossible. Every step of the way, someone wants to tell me, are you sure it's not a 47-year-old hooker? The system sucks. That Western Union exists in the world is evidence that the system sucks, because that is a company built on, we know the system is bad, we're going to charge you a shit ton of money to make it work at its slowest. So, right now, crypto we're at version 1.0, to be honest.
Right.
The banking system can come and say, well, we're going to do crypto too,
Exactly.
and do it better with the security of the bank. And who wouldn't do that? Like, I know there are people out there that want to be libertarian and take away the power from the institutions, but I'd much rather just my money actually do what it's supposed to do without anyone getting in my goddamn way.
Right. Yeah, I think it's the transactional thing rather than where it rests. Yeah. I be much more inclined to be in a situation where my deposit is actually insured. Because at this point, if you're using decentralized finance or cryptocurrency, as many people can attest, there's no insurance. And if some guy dies and leaves the country with $280 million of your money, then you're screwed. It's over. It's done.
Yeah. And you know what? I have already been hooped twice on this stuff, right? Every cent that I've put into the crypto world has been lost in shitty exchanges.
Oh, no.
Right? And it's happened to me twice. And I consider myself not to be the dumbest guy in the world, but, I'd rather not go with the biggest exchange. So you try and find someone who's doing something interesting, and then 3 months later, Einstein Exchange? What Einstein Exchange? I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Yeah. So just before we look at the charts here quickly, if you guys are interested, or any of the viewers here are interested in future of citizen banking and decentralized finance, I would just pay attention to Jack Dorsey and Square. Now the company's called Block. But I would just pay attention to see what they're doing, because Dorsey's been quite vocal on, DeFi and citizen banking, and, he left Twitter and he changed the company's name from Square to Blockchain. So it's sort of hinting at what he's looking at or what he's considering doing. But, as Galen mentioned, very early stages right now. But it's exciting to see how this, I guess this sector, you could call it, is going to evolve. Looking at Wellfield, you guys have probably, seen this chart here up for a while. Yeah, very choppy. Very choppy. We've seen in 4 months, 4 months of price action, pretty much. We've seen lows of around $1.10 and highs at $2.19. And it's been, I guess, what do you call that? Sine wave, right? It's just been up and down, big gaps. I remember some of these big moves were actually because of news of Wellfield bringing in, or getting some top, I think, data scientist or computer scientist on their team, and the stock popped on that type of news. But you can just see there's a lot of red days as well. It's a choppy one, and it's definitely a volatile one, just as crypto can be. Crypto is actually quite volatile. It's not, for everyone. If we're looking at just support and resistance levels, then obviously, your very extreme highs at $2.19, as I mentioned, and your very lows are your two important zones. And what I've done here is I've just sort of changed into a line chart and basically just connected the dots, right? That's really what it is when you don't have proper price action levels. So I've drawn a few levels out here. You can see has seen some reaction in the past. You're looking at $1.70 to the upside, which we have broken down below, and we're quite far away from $1.70 now. We're actually at the lower portion of the support here, and in fact, not a pretty good close today. Only down 2% today, but it is breaking below the support line I drew around $1.40. So, looking at that, we are below $1.40 here. Is the stock going to be able to find some support here? And mind you, after a few days of just downside, the stock did range for a week here between $1.40 and $1.45. So not much, a 5-cent range there, but we just couldn't break out, and instead we have broken down. Can we recover and begin to range here? That might give the bulls some, positive technical news, hoping for a bounce above $1.45 to recover and take $1.70. But as of now, I'm sort of worried about that breakdown. I'm sort of looking at another retest of maybe the lows here at $1.15. And news, the news flow seems to be the big one. We've seen the news on CoinMama, that was 20 days ago. And the big catalyst, I guess, for this year, we could still say, is that Seamless brand, right? That's still not out yet. It's coming out sometime in 2022. Money Clip is already out, so you can download that app. You can, use it to spend money and use the blockchain to spend money and transfer money and that kind of stuff. So there is still a big, catalyst, which is seamless. But as of now, the news flow is still, here and there, and it might cause the stock to retest these lows here at around $1.15 again.
We start with Chris in terms of wanting to potentially spend any dough, and is this a trade?
It's definitely a trade, but it's difficult because there's just not a lot of volume, right? There's not consistent volume. If I, actually look at the level 2 bids and asks here, you're looking at about 1,000 shares or 5,000 shares at every price level. It's not a lot, and honestly, that tells me that the story still hasn't really penetrated, but also people aren't really selling. And if someone does, then the low amount of buying action drives the stock down, but it bounces straight back up again, right? There's a big old swing here between $1 and $2. If you think you can time it and make some money on that trade, then more power to you. What I'll say is that my average is $1.40. I've been buying this thing over the last few months. If it drops beneath $1.40, I'm in. If it goes above $1.40, then I'm hovering. Yeah. The only reason I'm hovering over the sell is because it comes up and comes down so hard, right? There's not a lot being traded, so it's hard to really get a sense of where the long term is. I like the crew. I like what they're doing. Admittedly, they're difficult for us to get on the phone. They're focused on the tech and not on the promote, which as an investor sometimes is a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. I'd like them to be talking more about it and be putting it more in the terms that your average investor who's not necessarily a crypto fan can really figure out, right? It's a bit of a tech-heavy deal. So once they get all those pieces together in a single company where it does everything and it does it easy, and they just bought, 300 million people into their deal, then it becomes really interesting. And I think that the share price where it's at would not make a lot of sense at that point. If you understand the deal, it's easy to sit on this one because it's just, first of all, it's a Mark Lustig deal. Like, Mark Lustig deals did not go under.
Oh, right.
He's not so quiet on this one. A lot of his deals, you don't say much. You don't know he's in the deal unless you talk to him personally. This one, he's out there sending emails to the investors. He's into it. And when you know the amount of money that he came out of Canada Royalty / Origin House / Cresco Labs with, and the track record that he's got of doing deals the right way, not blowing them out and disappearing over the hill, this one is one where I think today, what are we at? $1.38. That's a buy. I'm 5K in.
Ooh, Galen.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's an interesting prospect in terms of what it actually seeks to address. Long term is where I'd be looking at this. I'm not a trader. I don't believe in that. I think it kind of shites up the market, but whatever. It's a factor of it, and people do it and make money of it. So all the power to you. If I were to put money into this, it would be to wait it out and see where it ends up. But I would need to wait to see what their next financial statement shows. And I want to see something. I don't necessarily need to see that it's, making fistfuls of dollars. I need to know that there is an upward trajectory in terms of return on investment, that they're actually doing something towards something. I don't doubt that they are, but I always like to see it on paper. And, the industry is the industry. It's a tough one to be in right now. And honestly, even though the money has run from Bitcoin into this, I think they're both experiencing a bit of a reality trough. And people are discovering that this isn't being implemented right away. And there's also a cultural change that has to take place before there's a truly in-depth uptake of this in the population. So for me, well, it is pretty low right now. And I don't think it's going to get any lower in the long term. So I would probably drop 2K in, and I would wait to see what the financials say before I put any more in. That's me. But I'm just a cautious and cheap individual.
On those financials, as part of the Coin Mama deal that they just announced in late March, they're bringing in a company that raised $130 million in sales in 2021. and has 3.5 million registered users. So I feel like there's going to be a real injection in their financials if that's included by the time those financials come out. If they don't, there's probably not a lot of business being done, to be honest, at this point that would show up. But for me, this is an 18-month play. I think that this is really going to start taking shape as the three things that they've bought into merge into one another. The CEO sort of basically said, look, the three things we wanted were robust decentralized protocols, check, verifiable secure credentialing, check, established regulatory and banking infrastructure, check, and a scalable consumer-facing DeFi application, which they've now put into place. So that's all the pieces of the puzzle in order for them to do it right are there now. And sorry to jump in on your cash holler, but the more I read about the Coin Mama acquisition, I think for $25 million to buy 130 million of revenue is a pretty good deal.
Okay, 5K from Chris, 2K from Galen. What do you got for show?
So now that Chris has mentioned, that deal there, the numbers there, the 130 million, and also when he brought up Mark Lustig as well, I think that sort of sold me to it. I just say that because I was recommended a few other trades with Mr. Lustig involved, and I didn't take any of them, and all of them went shooting higher. So it's always good to invest with a serial winner there as well. At the support zone, then, accept the volatility. I do recognize that we are still in the early stages. There is a big catalyst, though, with Seamless there, and there could be an interesting bump up when the earnings come out, especially when the market starts to price in the Coin Mama acquisition there. So I'm gonna throw in $3,000 here at around the $1.40 zone here, support zone, and hopefully we find some range here and bounce out higher. But this will be more of a long-term play for me.
Let's go.
5, 2, and 3. And by the way, Galen, you mentioned Fistful of Dollars. Would you go Fistful of Dollars or High Plains Drifter?
High Plains Drifter. Right. Actually, you know what? Fistful of Dollars. I like that one. Nostalgically, it's one of the best.
Or we can go Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And just
yeah, that would be great.
We're going to start figuring out who's who.
Well, I know I'm ugly, so there you go.
I'm just the MC. Hey, it is WFLD. All the top hits in Tampa, WFLD, on the Venture Exchange. And it's Levy Cohen. And of course, he's the CEO. The chairman is the man they've been talking about, Mark Lustig. Wellfield's in Markham. It's also in Israel. And we're spending 10 grand. Out of the 22.5 eligible.
I feel good about it. I feel like if the very first day we talked about them, we laid out the plan that they've now put in place. I think in the DeFi sector doesn't really happen very often.
They are the DeFi sector.
You've got more chance of making revenues with a psychedelics company for most of it, but they're actually doing the business. They're doing a business.
We can't guarantee results based on anything we've told you. You have to do your own homework, people. Do your own research, people. And do not expect future results from past performance, because that's no guarantee either. We promise you nothing. But we hope you take this information and run with it and supplement it. Ooh, how about that? For Galen in the basement making his biscuits, and for Chris up in the far corner eating the biscuits, and for Shell.
I'm not eating Galen's biscuits.
Who's calling a couple of his friends over, the biscuits. We'll see you on the next edition of the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable.
I don't need those stinking badges. And that's it. There we go. We're done.
32 minutes. Hey, by the way, how are we supplementing these suckers? Because we have articles. Can we get a shell maybe thingy ding for each day?
I do the charts.
He does it. Yeah, he does the charts already. That already happens.
Okay, hold on a second here. Because for Tenant, we don't have Dick in terms of interview. These guys are non-existent.
No, the only thing
we do have a Wellfield with Jody. And
did she actually do that one?
Yeah, November 24th. Wow.
Bring it back.
definitely.
If it's the best we got, bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to bring it back because it's introductory. It's first glance, and I have tried at least
No,
9
they've
times.
they've canceled every
9
fucking time.
times.
They've canceled every fucking time.
They canceled or just not responded to
Yeah.
emails, which I'm kind of having a week like that right now in that regard.
So,
Better
okay,
on the
so
scale.
Jody,
So
is Chris
Jody,
writing
yes.
are you writing the
Chris
piece
is
for
doing a
Chris?
write-up.
So
He's doing a Wellfield.
Jody, Chris, and Tech, right? Technical, right?
Yep.
That's the
I'll
3
have tech
slots.
piece, yeah.
We got Jody, Chris write-up.
Oh, sorry, that's 4.
This, this round table, and yeah, that's for Monday. But for FinTech, which is tomorrow,
Yeah,
we've got
we've
this
got the
and
3. That's
Joseph.
And then
And
my tech.
so, is there anything related?
We haven't done anything with these guys, I don't
Slide in.
think, since.
Not them, just
Oh, there is, I think, a DeFi thing we did a long time ago in terms of,
just
but I
FinTech.
wouldn't necessarily put that in because I think I went ape on that one.
You did go ape on one, but that's FinTech. I'm not talking about Wellfield. You consider it the same thing?
Well, I think we may have had them in the loop, like they were part of the show.
Oh. Let's see.
I can look through and see what we got.
What else is similar? We've done a lot
We
of
don't,
finance.
yeah, we don't have anybody like that. They're kind of the only game at this point.
Also, you guys both have, you said you have appointments tomorrow morning, right?
Yep,
So we
I got out of mine.
got out of here.
mine's a specialist. I
We
can't
need
get out of it.
Galen. So we're going to do a Friday. We'll do a Friday Zoom, Friday 10:30.
Well,
All right.
we can do it Thursday afternoon. I don't mind doing that. It's just morning I'm done. That's it.
Well, the Zoom in the afternoon's tough because we got a lot of fellas on the East Coast, etc.
Oh, I got
So
you.
we'll just do a 10:30 Friday.
Okay.
Friday might be Good Friday, so you might want to.
Oh shit!
Oh, yeah, right. Friday is Good Friday.
Oh, fuck.
Some people might be going out. I'll be home, but
What does that mean?
Well,
Do
my
they go to
appointment
church?
is...
They don't go to church or anything, do they?
oh no, I mean someone might just be
Taking the day
My
off.
appointment's at 9
Traveling or
o'clock. I
something.
can't imagine that it's going to be any more than an hour or so. So
What time's that?
at 9 o'clock. So I'm sure that I'd probably be available by 11.
All right. Let's do. Yeah, we'll just do. We'll do 11:30 tomorrow then.
Okay.
Give you time to breathe and get her if you're going anywhere and do anything.
Thanks. Yeah, because, well, no, it's just beside my house, so it's
All
easy
right.
enough for me to get going.
I'll send her out, bitches.
All right, then.
We'll figure out the next thing there. The next thing there.
Okay.
Yep.
Later,
Thanks,
skater.
boys.
Bye.
see you guys.
Later, skaters.
See ya.